Welcome, tennis fans, to the 37th episode of Tennis Traverse Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy J. And in today's episode, I'll be discussing the second week of the Madrid Open. Before we begin, please follow all of my social media, status Instagram and Twitter, using @TennisTraverse, status @TennisTraverse. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show. And I also have a tennis newsletter that comes out. So if you guys are interested in subscribing, I also have a Substack linked in my description. So if you guys want to subscribe, just feel free to click onto it and enter your email. It's going to be one newsletter every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it's going to be about what my Monday episode will basically be about, if that makes sense. And sometimes I'll include my draw predictions so you guys can get sort of all my thoughts in just like a document, because I feel like sometimes 30 minutes isn't really enough for me to express all or like the completely breakdown of a draw. So I feel like delivering the document to you guys will be better. And I also want to say that I sort of switched up my microphone setup a bit. So if you're listening at this point, please tell me if you think it's better or not. And yeah, let's just get right into today's episode because I have a lot to talk about. So I want to start off with the WTA side, and I'm just going to dive in from the quarterfinals because I think that's when the matchups started to get really interesting. So I want to start off with our first quarterfinalist, which is Madison Keys. And in my opinion, I feel like this is one of her best runs this year because, to be honest, I feel like expectations were really high in Indian Wells and Miami, just because obviously she's from the United States, she's from America. So there were a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but there were just a lot of expectations, and I don't think she didn't live up to my expectations in Indian Wells and Miami. So I feel like Madrid, I watched one of the Tennis Channel interviews, and she said that she thought Madrid is a surface where she would play really well at, but she haven't been for the past few tournaments in Madrid. But I think this year she really made a deep run where she made it. Okay, in her quarterfinal match, she played against Ons Jabeur, which I will touch on later, right after this. But it was an insanely, I don't want to say close match because one of it was 6-0, which is a big one, the first set, and then 6-1 in the second set. But the second set was really close, and I think she battled it out because the second set, the score was 7-5. So after winning the second set and getting a big one in the first set, winning the second set really probably boosted her confidence by a lot, which made the final deciding set win really easy. Okay, and I guess that leads me on to our next opponent, which is Ons Jabeur. So obviously Ons hasn't had the great year, I said this before, and she really haven't been performing as well as anyone would like to. I think I gave like her season, not a preview, but what happened this season in the last episode. But to sum it up, she just haven't been performing well. The first major she played this year, and the only major, because, well, it's the only major she can play, is Australian Open. And she actually got bageled in the second round against Mira Andreeva. So I think she haven't been performing that well. And this year, her run to the quarterfinals really surprised me a lot because on her run, I would say that she beat a lot of challenging opponents. For example, in the round of 16, she beat Jelena Ostapenko, which I did not expect her to do. I just felt like Jelena, with her power on clay court, and also just her, I don't know, because it's not electronic line calling, it's by people, I think. So I don't know, it's just a funny thing. I feel like she just has a thing against the Hawkeye system. So with people calling and people doing the line judge, I just thought that she'll perform really well, and I actually thought that she's going to make a deeper run, but she actually got bageled by Ons Jabeur, which I did not expect. So I feel like one of the recurring themes in this tournament is just players who have been underperforming suddenly rising up. And I would say that this WTA tournament, the one word is really stable. Like, every player is playing in a way that like there's no like surprising upsets. Like everyone's playing and they're playing at one of their high levels. It's like before, even though I did mention that these players were like sort of underwhelming, but they're all quite like high-seeded players. So before, I think they're just known for their like underperformance this season, but I feel like this tournament proved the haters wrong in a way. And I want to talk about Beatriz Haddad Maia as well. I think she has a similar story to Madison and Ons in a way that she also underperformed, and her highest ranking was actually number 10 in June of 2023. So, I mean, she hasn't fallen off by that much, and she's still the 11th seed ranked in this tournament. And I think her win against Emma Navarro, Marina Sakkari really proved that she is capable of winning and she can stay there for a long time. And then I want to talk about Mira Andreeva because, as I said before, I felt like just her, not season, but her season haven't been as sort of deep as her season before, because last year she played in the US Open even though she only made it to the second round. In China Open last year she made it to the round of 16th, and she just has been sort of really, not, I don't want to say stable, but she's making it into like really deep runs last year. However, this year I feel like she just hasn't been doing that consistently, and Madrid she made it to the quarterfinals where she lost to Sabalenka, but as I said before, Sabalenka is incredible. She's always been incredible, so we really can't blame a 17-year-old for losing to the world number 2. Okay, and then I want to talk about Putintseva. I think she's okay. Well, her highest singles ranking was number 27 in 2017, so it's been a long time, and she has actually been playing a lot of qualifyings. For example, in I believe Dubai she played qualifying, and in Qatar she also played qualifying, so she has to play a lot of qualifying. But this Madrid where she made it to the quarterfinals is actually insane, and that brings us to the next wave of people. I want to say, like, these people are just people I feel like, okay, my examples are Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina, and Arina Sabalenka. So these are just players that are consistently at the top, and I want to talk about their runs. So I want to first talk about Elena Rybakina. So Rybakina played an incredible match in the quarterfinal against her fellow Kazakhstani, Yuliana Putintseva, but it was just because, okay, they played before and the head-to-head was actually Yuliana Putintseva 2-0, so I feel like this is sort of a mental obstacle compared to like a skill-wise match that she had to get through, and I admit it was really close, but I felt like just overall she's just wants it more, and I feel like, well, skill-wise she's definitely the better one. And the second player I want to talk about is going to be Iga Swiatek. So Iga, on her run, as I said, her quarterfinal opponent I mentioned before is Beatriz Haddad Maia, and surprisingly, Bia actually won that first set, and Iga managed to just completely come out on the second set by like a dominating way. She won the second set with a score of 6-0 and won the third set with a score of 6-2. So she's just completely dominating, and I feel like that's something that's super valuable in a player. And I feel like that just proves how Iga is super dominant on clay court, and beating her is really hard. It's like once you win a set, you really have to be there mentally and physically, because she will catch on to just like level drop, and she's going to use it and completely abuse it to destroy you. So I think that's something that's really valuable, and I think this really prepares her well for her run in Roland Garros this year. Okay, the next opponent I want to talk about is Arina Sabalenka. So this is Iga's final opponent, and I want to start off with their semifinal, with Sabalenka and Rybakina's semifinal match first. So they played each other in the semifinals, and it was close. I think the last two the second set and the second set was one of the best tennis sets I watched this year. I think, well, when I was watching, the commentators said that it was fire and ice, and I kind of agreed. It's just that their personality really makes it an entertaining match. And that tiebreak, I mean, Elena fought really well, but I don't know, honestly, I just feel like Sabalenka is more stronger mentally, and I feel like she's able to win more points at tough situations, which definitely brought her to win. And if you really look at the total points won, Rybakina actually won 99 and Sabalenka only won 95. So that's again the beauty of tennis, that you really don't have to win the most points to win. And yeah, so basically afterwards, Iga Swiatek and Sabalenka are meeting up right now at the final of Madrid. And okay, sorry, because I probably supposed to record this after the match is done, because okay, the current score, Iga won the first set 7-5. She lost the second 4-6. They're currently 4-5 in the deciding set with Iga serving and 15 love. So that's what's happening right now. But I just didn't record this after because I really need to study for the APs that are coming up. But sorry and whatever. But it's okay. I didn't watch it because I just had tennis. But I think from the scoreline and just from Twitter, it's an incredible match. So after probably I'm done with this episode, we'll know the score hopefully. So if we're done with this episode and we know the score, I'll tell you guys what happened. Okay. I also want to talk about Danielle Collins because she just has had an amazing run. So she said that this is going to be her last season, and I think the pressure just completely sort of elevated off of her, because in Miami, she won the whole Miami tournament. She won the Charleston Open after that. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 6. So that's 13 matches in a row. And then I feel like clay maybe isn't her strong suit because she lost in a round of 16, which again isn't that bad because she still won the first set against Sabalenka. So I feel like she's going to be really an interesting watch, especially near the French Open, because I feel like she's someone that loves the big stage. And if she gets paired up with another top seeded player that's ranked higher than her, I think it would be really funny, not funny, but it would be really fun to see what will happen, because I think she just loves the big stage and is able to pull off like an incredible upset. So yeah, just something to keep in mind about. And I like the word, as I said before, I want to sum up this WTA tournament, it's just stable. I think everyone is performing at their best level, and to be honest, this is actually, I feel like, one of the strongest tournaments this year because everyone is doing really well. I think this is better than Australian Open, where a lot of seed just got completely destroyed in the first and the second rounds. I feel like this one is actually a watchable tournament. I think this is a really great tournament on clay, and I think it paves the way for the next clay tournament, which is Rome. And it also paves the way for the French Open, because I think with Iga dropping sets in Madrid, I think it shows that, well, at least I feel like it gives players the thinking that Iga, at least she isn't completely like undefeatable on clay, you know, because she lost to, well, she dropped a set against Sabalenka currently, and she may lost the final, and she also dropped a set to Bia Hanemaya. So I think it will give players like a thought in their mind that Iga isn't completely like unbeatable. And even though Iga has obviously dominated French Open for like 3 years in a row, but I think it just shows that they still have a chance, and I think that's a great thing for tennis. Okay, that's all for WTA. It's a lot, but I just want to say that I really enjoyed it, as I said before, and I want to move on to the men's side first, the ATP. Oh, so sorry, I just want to point something out. I will leave a link to all the matches. I'm probably not going to leave a link to all of them, to be honest. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave a link to the WTA YouTube channel so you guys can check it out. Please tell me if you're listening at this point, if you're interested in me just leaving a link to the WTA channel so you guys can just click onto the matches, or do you guys want me to link specific matches that I think are worth watching? But for this time, I'll just leave a link to the WTA channel. Okay, now let's talk about the ATP side. I'll probably do the same thing, but I'll just leave a link to Tennis Channel, which is in charge of like the ATP highlights. And unlike the WTA, what they do is they sort of put it in a day. Like, it's not every match get their own video. It's basically that like a day, like for example quarterfinals day, and it's just like 2 matches in 1 video. So I'll leave a link to Tennis Channel and the oh my gosh, okay, Tennis TV and the WTH YouTube channel if you guys want to go check that out. Okay, we're gonna move on, talk about the ATP. Okay, I swear guys, this tournament is cursed. I don't know what's wrong. Like, everyone is getting injured. Okay, sorry if you guys can hear the shoveling in the background. I don't know what's happening, but okay, let me just go over the injured list. Okay, there's 4. Surprise. Okay, the first one is Carlos. So he actually lost against Rublev, who literally lost 4 times in a row, and he kind of just, yeah, he lost. And it's because of his arm, obviously, because he also withdrew in Monte Carlos, and I think his arm is a kind of a big problem now because he is pulling out of Rome, which is the next tournament. Jannik Sinner also withdrew before even playing in his, I believe, quarterfinal match against Felix Auger-Aliassime, and he also withdrew from Rome because of his hip problem. And then Medvedev withdrew again when he was playing against, I believe, Jirila Hechka in the quarterfinal, and I don't know what happened. I think he pulled his like groin or something, so he's also withdrawing. I don't know if he's withdrawing from Rome though. And then Lehechka withdrew after injuring his back in semifinals after playing against Felix Auger-Aliassime. It was actually 3-all, and I was like on the bus from my way home to school, and I saw the score at 3-all. I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn this up when I'm at home, I'm gonna watch. And then after I like stepped off my bus, I checked the score again, and it just said walkover. I was like, huh? Like, it was just so weird. And yeah, it's just really sad, and I feel like this tournament is kind of cursed. And I saw this thing on Twitter. It's like all of Novak's biggest sort of challengers for Roland Garros are injured, and Novak is just resting and firing his coaches. Oh, in case you guys don't know, Novak fired his basically his like personal trainer, and it's like really weird. I don't understand, but I feel like he knows his body and himself better than anyone else. So if he thinks that it's the right move, I really can't say anything else, because obviously he has a lot of experience, and a lot of people are speculating that he's retiring. But I mean, he didn't say anything yet, so we really can't assume much, because all we heard from him for the past few years is, I'm just gonna play. Like, there's no any like withdrawing an agenda, that he's just like always gonna play. So yeah, okay, now I'm gonna talk about the match. So I first want to talk about Nadal, because, well, Nadal's Nadal. So I want to talk about Rafa. So he basically, I think this is his best run yet of this year, because, okay, in Brisbane, he made it to the quarterfinal, but he only played 3 matches. In Indian Wells, he withdrew. In Barcelona, he played it to the second round, where he lost against Deminar on a court called Rafa Nadal, which is, I don't know, I just find it funny. And then in Madrid, he actually made it to the 4th round, which is the round of 16. So he completely destroyed his opponent, Darwin Blank, in the first round. And then the second round is basically a revenge. I told you guys this in my last episode, but he managed to beat Alex de Minaur. And then I predicted that he'll make a deep run and overcome Kachin, and I was right. Kachin is like a clay court specialist, but so is Rafa. And Rafa is like Rafa on clay, you know? So, but the score was kind of close, because Kachin actually took a set off of Rafa. They were playing tiebreak and in the second, and Rafa lost 5-7, but it was close nonetheless. And Rafa won the third set 6-3. Okay, and then the round of 16th, I mean, Jiri Lehechka played incredible. I think the ability to play against someone that's like super well known and super respected, especially in his home country, against like literally every member of the crowd is cheering to your opponent, and to beat him and remain humble was such an incredible thing. And I'm really happy that Jiri Lehechka did that, and I think it really shows that the impact Rafa have on his sport, that everyone's so respectful to him, and I feel like it's because of how he is respectful to everyone else, and he's just such a legend that everyone looks up to. Okay, I want to talk about the quarterfinal people. So we're gonna do the same thing we did. Okay, so I want to talk about Carlos Alcaraz first. I briefly mentioned it, but I feel like, okay, I saw somewhere on Twitter that he really isn't supposed to, like his run is deeper than what people thought it would be, what his team thought it would be, because his arm problem apparently is actually kind of serious. And then Jannik Sinner, he withdrew from his quarterfinal against Felix. I said that, and I did not expect him to have a hip problem. For me, maybe I just didn't read any sources, but for me, his hip problem just came out of nowhere. After Monte Carlo, I thought he was going to be fine, but I don't know what happened. Okay. Taylor Fritz, I'm really happy that he got a deep run, because after Monte Carlo, which was a disappointment, I feel like this run at Madrid really proved to him that he is capable of playing really good on clay. And then I want to talk about Francisco Cerundolo. So this is Taylor Fritz's opponent in the quarterfinal, where Taylor beat Cerundolo, and it was a 3-set match. I think Cerundolo, he's just really good on clay. I feel like he's been consistent on clay, and I think that's a good thing for sure. And yeah, just because I believe that he won like two small, I think it's him. Yeah, actually, let me check. I don't think it's him. Never mind, guys. But Sebastian Baez won 2 great titles this year on clay, but that was like sort of at, not the start, but it was sort of before the Australian Open. So he claimed a title in Rio, and he claimed a title in Chile. So it was incredible. But in Madrid, he also lost to Taylor Fritz. So I guess it's just, I'm happy to see Cerundolo come up. Okay, and then I want to talk about Andrei Rublev. So Rublev, prior to this, he lost 4 matches in a row. Like, I honestly don't know what happened, but let's sum up his 4-match losing streak. So his 4-match losing streak was actually started in Indian Wells by Lehechka, and then he lost to another Czech player, Thomas Machak, in the round of 64 in Miami. And in Monte Carlo, he lost to Alex Popyrin, and in Barcelona, he lost to Brandon Nakashima. This was completely unexpected for me. And in Madrid, surprisingly, so spoiler alert, he's playing the final on Sunday, which is tomorrow. And he beat Carlos, which is like, people were always talking about how like there's so many more upsets in the WTA than in the ATP, but I completely disagree. Like, this is a proof of that. Like, Andre, after losing 4 matches in a row, just completely beat like one of the best players in the world right now, Carlos Alcaraz. I know that he has an arm issue, but like still. And then Danielle also withdrew in the quarterfinal, as I said this before. Lehechka, I said this before, he withdrew in the semifinal. And then Felix. So this is Rublev's finals opponent, and his run, I would say that his run has been really magical, because he haven't been doing really well since a long time ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but if you've been following me for a long time, you guys know I had a guest. My first guest ever is Aaron Baxt. He's like my tennis, we play tennis together, and we like his favorite player is Felix Auger-Aliassime, and he was so disappointed that he ranked Felix as the most underwhelming player last year, and I think this tournament probably will make him really happy. If I see him tomorrow, I'll probably tell him this, but Felix did really well, even though, okay, to be honest, he had 2 walkovers, but to be honest, as I said, like, you really can't blame your opponents for retiring, and it's not your fault that, like, your opponent's retired. So I guess he just views it as, like, he can't view it as anything. Okay, so the one opponent that I just want to point out along the way is Casper Ruud, because Casper, his season, I would say, is one of his best season so far, and because he won in Barcelona, which is his first ever 500 title, which is a title above a 250 because he has never done it before. And I think everyone expected him to go deep, and to be honest, he did not disappoint. It wasn't like just like a stunning upset, but for Felix to take Casper in 2 was actually kind of insane to me. And yeah, for the final, okay, I'm gonna predict. If you guys want, you can just skip this part and just end it here. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. But if you guys want to hear my predictions, here it comes. So I think Felix is going to, okay, I honestly don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like Rublev, because I just don't feel like he believes in, I think both of these players lack confidence just because they both, okay, Rublev hasn't had so many experiences playing against like top players, and even if he does, he always loses, to be honest. And Felix, he haven't had a huge opportunity like this in such a long time. So I think that this is going to be a really interesting match up in a way. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to go either way. I think this is one of those matches that can go either way. But I'm just going to say Andre's going to win in 3 because I just feel like he's better on clay. That's all. And yeah, okay. I guess that's all. I hope you guys really enjoyed. And let's just go back to the the Madrid final. Okay, they're currently battling it out. It's actually really good. I'm watching this point right now, but Iga is, I feel like, about to tie the deciding set in a tiebreak, so I think we're gonna go to tiebreak. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I had a blast filming this one. Honestly, my podcast now is just me talking for 30 minutes. I also want to point out that one of my followers, he texted me that I can do one episode about just like tennis resources, such as like podcasts I listen to, books I recommend about tennis, and just like different resources for tennis. If you guys are interested in that, please let me know. Shoot me a DM or just, I don't know, comment under the YouTube video or something. But please get back to me if you guys are interested in that. And after like a huge tournament, we can definitely do one episode like that. And I think it'll be quite special because I really enjoy giving you guys like tips and stuff. And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to my newsletters if you haven't already. Subscribe to my social medias, Tennis Traverse, that is at Tennis Traverse. And like, comment, subscribe on my YouTube. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, rate my shows. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.